Well, good evening, YouTube audience. I know it's been a while since I've been on here, and I want to apologize for that. It's been pretty hectic. I'll call it hectic. Last, I don't know, maybe a month or so. And it seems like one of those times when almost anything that can go wrong does go wrong on different levels. And as a believer, uh, this is actually a good thing because you have to learn how to navigate real life when it happens to you, because real life is going to happen. You can't avoid the pitfalls and the things that come because of everyday, everyday of circumstances that come for all people. And this is whether you are a believer or not. I'm really hoping that there will be people who are not professing Christians or churchgoers who will watch my channel, because I'm trying to speak to you on a level that perhaps you're not used to. Because when you go into the church world environment, there's a whole different jargon and language that you're going to hear. And for some, that can be a turn off and a negative, because immediately you hear those words and you hear the vernacular, and you wonder if the people saying it actually know what they're talking about, mean it, and live it in their everyday lives. And there's a mixture of yes and no in there, as with anything. People who are in the world are the same way. People are people. And that's whether you are a believer, a professing believer, an actual believer walking the faith, or somebody who hates God altogether. There's all kinds. What I wanted to talk to you about today was more about the aspect of, in our lives, one thing that we are called to do and to be, um, without exception, is a person who is a giver, someone who gives. Now, there many times when people hear that, the first thing they think about is money. But we give a lot more as human beings than money. Money is one of the things that we give, but it is not the only thing that we give. And the way we give, what we give, how we value what we give, how does God value what we give? This little short excerpt that I'm hoping to do here will deal with some of that, and hopefully give a better understanding of giving, what it means, how God sees it, so that when you are doing it yourself, you actually know what you're doing. So you can give with intentionality, and you can give knowing that this is a gift God honors. And this is a gift God receives because you actually know what you're doing. You're not just passing something out, whether it's your time, whether it's money, whether it's a compliment, whatever it is, whatever you're giving, you actually know what you're giving. And you know that the standard for giving it, God sets that standard. And if God sets that standard, there's a way to do it that is pleasing to Him and that He wants to see us do. So we're going to look at just a couple of things. This won't be long tonight. And I'm going to have to work on editing and all that, because my other videos, I think a couple of them look like they were, the timestamp said they were like half an hour. And actually what I did was splice a couple of them up. And I didn't do that quite well. So forgive me for that. We'll keep trying to keep this a little shorter. Um, so uh, understanding giving and what that is, what that means. God is the ultimate giver. He gave His Son to pay a price for people who hate Him, and the purpose of that was to redeem mankind from the fallen state that they found themselves in by no fault of our own. We got to keep that part in mind. This is all that you see, all that you experience, all the wickedness that we go through in the world is all a result of one guy disobeying God, not doing what He said, even though he was warned and told that the day that you do this, you are going to surely die. And if you watch the other videos I did, you'll see what that means. And the effect of it it corrupted him down to his DNA level, so that from that point forward, any person born as a result or born from Adam would automatically be tainted with the same corruption that Adam brought in. What you have to remember is Adam was not created with a fallen, corrupt nature. He was not created good. He was innocent, but he was not corrupted. His submission to the devil, you find out later when you first read this in the Bible, you don't realize that's who it is. But as you keep reading and going, you find out that was the devil being in a snake and presenting himself that way. But in submitting himself to the enemy, who was the devil at that time, he became corrupted. That is, Adam became corrupted. So from that point on, corruption began to take its place. It takes its place in the way of decay. It takes its place in the way of good qualities like desire and fear, which are now out of place. Corruption, when you hear the word wicked, is twisted it. So desire is not a bad thing, and fear is not automatically a bad thing. But what sin does is it corrupts what God said there. So God put that there for us, but sin corrupted, twisted it, and made it something it's not supposed to be. So when that happened, we got what we call the fallen nature. God didn't put that there, but that is the reason that you see all the things you see in the world. It's the reason that we see decay. It's the reason that we see everything in the world that has gone wrong. That's why. It was because of sin or missing the mark, disobeying God. So we were not created to be like we are. But we are this way because of the sin nature passed down through our blood from our Father. If you look in the scripture, it says in Adam all die. It doesn't say in Eve all die. In Adam all die. And if you look at biology, where does the seed come from? The seed comes from the man. That's how you know the man has the XY chromosome. It is the man's seed that determines the sex of a child. The woman or the female has XX chromosomes. She only has XX chromosomes. So the birth of her child can't be dictated by her because all she has is the XX chromosomes. But the man, he has the XY chromosome. So he's got an X and a Y. So when these things meet up, if the child has an XY, that's going to be a male. If the child has XX, that's going to be a female. But along with all the things that come with or through the bloodline, sin is one of them. Sin is in your blood. It's attached in your bloodline. It's in your DNA. Literally, it's in your DNA. So that means every seed that is passed on and brings forth a child with corrupt DNA. That is sin. That changes and warps everything about us. But getting back to what we were talking about, we're going to talk about giving. And I went into that somewhat because what sin does is it keeps us from giving the right way. It keeps us from giving at all sometimes. And it keeps us from giving giving from a pure heart standard. Sometimes people give in order to get. Sometimes people give in order to manipulate. Sometimes people give because they feel pressured or forced or coerced, or they feel like they just have to because, you did this for me, so I got to do this for you. None of those are good reasons for giving. Although, I can understand why you say, if you did this for me, I'll do this for you. But you should never feel that because you did something for someone, they must do it for you. If you feel like that, you should not give it because you're not giving it freely. You're giving it with strings attached to it. And if you didn't tell them there are strings attached to it, then that is really on you. Anyway, if we look at there's the story of the widow who put we say the two mites, or it was two copper coins, into the temple treasury. That's in Mark chapter 12, verse 41. And I will read through that story. It's also in Luke chapter 21 as well. And in this story, we'll just read through it right quick, and then we'll talk about what it is about. Mark chapter 12, verse 41, Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts. Take note of this now. Many rich people put in large amounts of money. Verse 42, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worthy only of a few cents. So that was not a lot of money at all. Now Jesus does this, calling his disciples to him. Jesus said, truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. Verse 44, they all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on. So why is this story important? Because this is talking about giving. This story is about how God identifies value. This story is about God, how God identifies pure-hearted giving. So we want to see that, because Jesus made 2 very astounding statements here. He said, the rich people put in large sums of money. Now, for us, for men and women, for mankind, we say, oh, they put in a whole lot. See, our value system and God's value system are very different. We need to understand that, because if I want to do something that God regards as valuable, I want to make sure I'm doing it the way he would value it, so I can know what I'm giving is really of value to God. See, because you don't have anything God needs. I don't have anything God needs. I can't help him with anything, really. I don't have anything to give that would be of value to God. I don't have anything. You don't have anything that would be of value to God. So when we start talking about giving, then there's a whole nother aspect that we have to consider about giving and what that means. And we know what it means to us. We look at value as an amount, but what does it mean to God? As a believer, this should be important to you, because your life is that of a giver, and you need to recognize your life is that of a giver. So you want to make sure that in your giving, you're doing it according to a way that God would honor him, and he receives it. So this story is about how God identifies value, and it's about it is a comparison to how God identifies value and how we identify value, and how God assesses what you give him and how you give it. So here's the thing. We know that God didn't consider the value in the amount, because Jesus said, these are the 2 things. This is the second thing, rather. Jesus said, she gave in 2 copper coins, but she gave more than anyone. Now, you can't just read through that and act like he didn't say that. So if he's saying she gave two copper coins and she gave more than anyone, but it says the rich people put in large sums of money. So we're talking about 2 different value systems here. We're talking about 2 different ways of assessing the value of what was given. Here is what you should always pay attention to in your giving. I believe it's 4 points. I'm probably going to just do the one today, and then I'll come back and do the others. We're already at almost 15 minutes. The first point is, in your giving, if it's something you don't want to keep, it's not a sacrifice or an offering. If it's something you don't want to keep, it's not a sacrifice or an offering. If you look in 2 Samuel, uh, David had to build an altar. And in building this altar, he wanted to buy this plot of land to put the altar on for offering before the Lord. And he's going to buy this land from this guy named Aruna. This is Samuel 24, 2 Samuel 24, 18 through 24. So the guy says, David, I'll just give it to you. I'll give it to you and you can do what you're doing. And David says to him, he said, no, I insist on paying you for it. I will not sacrifice to the Lord my God burnt offerings that cost me nothing. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen and paid 50 shekels of silver for them. He paid full price for them. He could have got it for free. But he said, I don't want to give God something that didn't cost me anything. And I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that. What I gave God, I didn't feel it. Which means it meant nothing to you. It's very easy to give away what means nothing to you. And what this speaks to is the heart issue. God values what we want to keep and give to him anyway. That's our first point. God values, and he sees the value in what we want to keep, but we give anyway. That's the first point of what we want to see about giving. So when you give, and you're looking in your wallet, whether you're at church and you say, I want to put something in the offering, I got $15 to my name. I got to put $5 in my car. I got to get $5 for hopefully I can buy a loaf of bread to last me till Friday. And that last $5 feels like $50 to you. And you value that last $5. That $5 to you is the equivalent of these 2 copper coins to this lady in the story. It was all she had, but she gave it anyway. And Jesus said she gave more than anyone else because she gave all she had. She felt that thing. So when you put that $5 in the offering plate, don't look at the $5 as $5. That $5 is your heart's attached to that $5. That's what God's looking at. We look in the offering plate and see dollars. God looks in the offering plate and sees hearts. He sees this is the heart of the person that gave this. It doesn't matter that it was $5 or 2 copper coins. This person's heart was attached to this because this was all they had. They felt this. This hurt when they gave this. That's how God looks at the value of what you give, because that speaks directly to how you honor him. So David said, I won't give the Lord that which cost me nothing. Hopefully you won't give the Lord that which costs you nothing either. With that, we're going to stop for today, and we will pick up again. Hopefully tomorrow we'll pick up again, and we'll go on to our next point. But this is our first point. If it is something you don't want to keep, it's not a sacrifice or an offering, because it doesn't have any value to you. That's the point, the value to you. When you give what has a value to you. With that, we're going to close today, and I hope to see you again soon, and hope this was really something that helped you. God bless and talk to you soon.